So in today's video, it will be the April 2026 UFO box. Pictured here, you'll see that I was using the pineapple papers from It's So Emma. This UFO box started in the summer of 2021. I took a class. It just said, bring a jelly roll, get a layer cake, and let's learn how to do one block. Well, after that, I felt kind of lost. I didn't really know if I was going to run out of colors or how many colors should I use. And so it did go into a box for a couple of years. I brought it out again August of 2025 at a quilt retreat. And the blocks that you'll see here are the ones that I was able to finish during that retreat. So the jelly roll was the Island Batiks and the layer cake was grunge, and that's it. That's all that's left in the box. So I do find it easier when working with these paper pieces to have a white or a light background box underneath it so that I can see those numbers. I do like to lay out exactly what's going to be going where so that I can see it visually before conquering it. And then now it's just all about pinning those pieces into place. With this center section being so small, I can only do 2 of the 4. And then I'll just go to take it to the machine and stitch those lines. I do like to use the seam roller on paper piecing, especially with these large blocks. I don't really want to bring out the iron and have to get that paper over there. I do fold on the stitch line, and then that way when I go ahead and turn it so that I can use the 1/4 inch ruler to do the trimming, everything's nice and ready for that step. Pictured here. I do love my add a 1/4 rulers. I have a 6 inch and a 12 inch. I have one with a blunt end on the opposite side and one with a tapered. Both of them are just fantastic. If you haven't tried one yet, I do highly suggest giving them a go if you're into paper piecing. And then up next, it's just to get the 3rd and the 4th sides of this same color step sequence pinned and sewn. And then it's going to be repeat for the rest of the block. I will speed this up and throw in some music, but you pretty much get the gist of what I was doing. So it turns out these steps were making a really long video, and so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this after this round is done, because wowzer, I did not want to lose you guys before the end of this video to show all the fun things I did to these blocks after they were done. So bear with me just a few more minutes. So we've made it to the last round. This is those finishing pieces that end up on the corners that make it a square block. I will go ahead and trim these as directed to that very far outside line on those papers. And then once all of them are trimmed, I need to decide on a layout. So this one ended up being 12 blocks, so 3x4 grid. And then I need to grow it a lot because I was not happy with such a small size. But turns out I had ran out of those original greens, and I needed to throw in greens from my stash. The top has been pieced, and then up next is pulling off all those papers. Do you enjoy this part? Because I'll be honest, I really didn't. So I dug around through my stash and I was able to find this purple batik. I'm going to go ahead and do 2.5-inch strips for the inner border, and then also 2.5-inch strips for the final outer border. So now I'm going to use the leftovers and make a structured piano keyboarder. They are all going to be using those 2.5-inch strips versus making them different widths. And so I was able to pull the leftover grunge layer cake squares, and I've decided that I needed an inner border to break up between the piano keys and that purple batik. It was looking way too dark for me. I did not get an image of it. I do apologize. And so I'm just cutting 1.5 inch strips out of these layer cake pieces. I'll go ahead and piece them super long and skinny and go ahead and round that off. I do like to stabilize my piano keys with those borders to keep them nice and straight and create them into a unit before attaching them to the quilt. I don't know if other people do this or not, but it is just something that I do versus going to the machine with the quilt top around and around and around each layer. I just go ahead and put those borders together. And then I brought out that purple batik again, and I wanted to do cornerstones in the border, so I'm going to do a 6.5 inch square. Just need 4 of those real quickly. So it turns out that when I went to go place the final purple border, I didn't like how that purple square looked touching up against it. I did want to break it away a little bit with some of that grunge. And as you can see here, it lightens it up. It mimics the pineapple block a little bit. So I just took that 10 inch square, I sliced it on the diagonal twice, and called it a day. I was able to just pull those triangles onto those squares, find that line, stitch them, and trim them down. For the 2 that were already attached to the quilt, I found that line, pinned them carefully, and stitched and trimmed them as they were built into the quilt. I did have to unpick about 1 inch or so. I do like the final look of this last rounded border coming up against there. You'll see that half square triangle mimics the blocks. But pictured here is all complete. The final size came out to be 55 by 63. I had so much fun creating this. If you stuck around this long, thanks so much. A like, a comment, a subscribe, and a share is always greatly appreciated. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me anytime. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much.